If you're serious about history, survival, or the fascinating intersection of the two, you're in the right place. Before we dive in, make sure to hit subscribe and share this video with anyone who appreciates practical knowledge from the past. Today, we're uncovering the 8 underrated survival foods from World War II that were not only staples during wartime, but can still be grown or stored today to outlast almost anything. These are not your usual canned beans advice. These are the foods that soldiers, civilians, and resistance fighters relied on when the world was falling apart, and they're incredibly relevant for anyone who wants a taste of history and practical resilience. During World War II, the ability to keep food on the table was often a matter of ingenuity. People had to make do with limited supplies, harsh conditions, and the constant threat of disruption. Out of necessity, certain crops and preserved foods became unsung heroes of survival. The brilliance of these foods isn't just in their shelf life, it's in how efficiently they provide calories, nutrients, and versatility. Understanding and applying these lessons today can turn your garden, pantry, or even a small urban space into a long-term survival resource. Potatoes were more than just a side dish, they were survival gold. In wartime Europe, the humble potato became a cornerstone of survival. Its ability to grow in poor soil, resist frost, and produce a high yield with minimal input made it, well, truly indispensable. Families dug small plots in backyards, roadsides, and even cemeteries. Today you can actually replicate this strategy by dedicating a section of your garden to potatoes. Just plant seed potatoes in early spring, rotate crops to keep soil fertile and preserve surplus by storing them in a cool, dark, ventilated space. WWII farmers discovered that even small-scale potato cultivation could sustain a family through harsh winters, a principle that, honestly, still holds. Carrots were a secret weapon for health and endurance. Carrots may seem ordinary, but during the war they were prized for both nutrition and versatility. They store exceptionally well in root cellars or sand-filled crates, resisting rot far better than many leafy vegetables. Beyond storage, carrots provide essential vitamins that prevent deficiencies like scurvy, which plagued populations under rationing. Modern applications are simple: grow carrots densely in raised beds, or store them buried in damp sand for months. For survivalists, this is a reliable food source that keeps giving long after the planting season. Cabbage could feed a family with minimal effort. Cabbage was the backbone of wartime diets, particularly in Eastern Europe. It thrives in cool weather, tolerates crowded conditions, and can be fermented into sauerkraut, a method discovered centuries earlier but relied upon heavily during the war. Fermentation preserves the cabbage while enriching it with probiotics, an overlooked element in long-term health. Today, you can practice this by planting compact cabbage varieties and experimenting with fermentation. A single head of cabbage might yield weeks of nutritious meals once properly stored, making it a practical tool for both survival and historical appreciation. Rye and other hardy grains ensured consistent calories. While wheat was often rationed, rye thrived in conditions too harsh for more delicate grains. Its resilience made it essential for bread porridge and even improvised alcohol. The lesson from World War II is clear, hardy grains aren't just for large-scale farms. They can be grown in small plots or even container gardens in colder climates. Rye also stores exceptionally well when kept dry, giving survivalists a dependable source of carbohydrates. Incorporating rye into your survival plan ensures not just calories, but historical authenticity. Beans and legumes were overlooked nutritional powerhouses. During the war, dried beans were a lifeline. Easy to store, high in protein and extremely versatile, they were crucial when meat was scarce. During the Second World War, communities often stored them in bulk, rotating stock to avoid spoilage. And today you can use the same principles, purchase heirloom or wartime-relevant varieties, dry them thoroughly, and rotate your pantry. Beans can be cooked, sprouted, or ground into flour, providing flexibility that, honestly, few modern foods offer. Onions and garlic were indispensable for flavor and medicine. Flavor in wartime meals often came down to onions and garlic, which doubled as natural remedies. Both store well in cool, ventilated areas and can last months without refrigeration. Beyond taste, garlic has antimicrobial properties, while onions provide essential antioxidants. Learning to cultivate these in your own garden gives you a direct connection to wartime strategies, ensuring your survival meals remain both palatable and functional. Seaweed and forage greens supplemented scarce diets. In coastal regions, seaweed was a nutritional staple, packed with iodine and minerals rarely found in rations. Similarly, foraged greens like nettles, dandelions, and wild leeks helped bridge nutrient gaps. These foods required minimal investment but provided critical micronutrients. Modern survivalists can adopt this approach by learning to identify and responsibly harvest wild edibles, creating a direct link to the resourcefulness of wartime populations. Root vegetables like turnips and parsnips outlasted most others. Finally, turnips and parsnips were celebrated for their hardiness and long shelf life. They grow in poor soils, resist frost, and can be left in the ground for extended periods, essentially turning the garden into a natural root cellar. Wartime families discovered that planting these vegetables in succession guaranteed a steady supply of carbohydrates throughout winter. Practicing this today ensures that even if modern supply chains fail, you have reliable, storably resilient food at hand. Understanding these foods allows you to think like a World War II survivalist. By studying the overlooked staples of World War II, you're not just growing food, you're tapping into strategies that kept families alive under extreme conditions. From potatoes to seaweed, each of these foods has a story, a practical method of storage, and a historical lesson in resilience. Applying this knowledge today involves a mix of gardening, preservation, and mindful storage. You're not just preparing for emergencies, you're preserving techniques that defined an era and made survival possible for millions. These 8 underrated survival foods from the Second World War are more than history. They're living lessons you can apply in your home, garden, or pantry. Start small, focus on hardy, storably resilient crops, and experiment with techniques like fermentation, drying, and root storage. Your knowledge of history becomes a tool for long-term survival. If this guide added value to your understanding of survival foods and wartime ingenuity, make sure to subscribe to the channel and share it with fellow history enthusiasts. There's a wealth of knowledge waiting to be rediscovered, and your support keeps these lessons alive.